greetings to one and all. I, Avdesh Tiwari, your host for today's webinar, extend a warm welcome to all of you on behalf of Plasmagen Biosciences. Plasmagen Biosciences is a Bangalore-based responsible biopharmaceutical organization enriched with over a decade of experience in providing world-class blood plasma-derived medicinal products. Our endeavor is to provide a wide range of safe plasma and specialty care products to enrich the quality of life of patients. Plasmagen Biosciences is organizing this webinar amongst the staff members of Vision Spring Noida as a part of its corporate social responsibility initiative, Samvedna, Sanchetna, Samvad. The agenda of this webinar is Breast Cancer Must Know Facts. As a responsible citizen and society, vital information about breast cancer is imperative, not only for the women, but also for each one of us. I express my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Sushant Mittal for accepting our invitation and presiding over this webinar. We welcome and thank Ms. Shilpi Chopra, Human Resource Manager, Vision Spring, for providing us the opportunity to host this event. On behalf of Plasmagen Biosciences, once again, I welcome everyone present today and extend my best wishes to each one of you. Now, I would like to introduce our respected oncologist, Dr. Sushant Mittal. Dr. Sushant Mittal is a renowned oncologist in Delhi and currently practices as a senior consultant and unit head in medical oncology department at Action Cancer Hospital, Delhi. He pursued his degree of MBBS and MD in medicine from Bharati Vidyapith Medical College, Pune, and DM in medical oncology from Tata Memorial Center, Mumbai. After completion of DM, he joined Fortis Memorial Research Center, Gurgaon, and later Artemis Healthcare before joining Action Cancer Hospital. Knowledgeable and confident, he reflects the culture of Tata Memorial Hospital, where he achieved finesse in management of patients with internationally acclaimed protocols. He brings the same compassionate, safe, and quality care treatment to cancer patients in National Capital Region. His research in the field of Hodgkin's lymphoma has greatly improved the patient outcome. He has around 20 papers and more than 15 publications to his credit at the national and international level. He has done the role of principal and co-principal investigator for 12 clinical trials. While holding increasingly responsible positions and gaining extensive experience in working with cancer patients, he has also spent considerable time in teaching, training, and upskilling postgraduate students and nurses, encouraging them to become better at patient care. Driven by the needs of his patients, he is passionate about the cure and control of cancer. He is a member of Association of Physicians of India, Indian Cooperative Oncology Network, European Society of Medical Oncology, American Society of Clinical Oncology, International Association for Study of Lung Cancer, to name a few. Requesting Dr. Mittal to enlighten us and take us through his presentation. Over to you, Dr. Mittal.
Thank you, sir, for the kind invitation and for the kind welcome. And I am thankful to Plasmagen for organizing this topic on breast cancer, which I feel is in a way positive and negative aspects of breast cancer, being that breast cancer in India is one of the most common cancers right now, according to the Indian registry data. And after lung cancer, it is the most common cause of mortality also in India. So talking about breast cancer is very near to my heart because it's one of the preventable diseases which can be diagnosed in early stage. So I'll be talking about it and I'll just start sharing my screen. So are my slides visible?
Yes, sir.
And is it full screen?
No, sir.
My screen sharing has been
You have
paused.
to download it. Wait, we will share it from here, sir.
I have already downloaded it.
But it is being opened in Google.
Okay, you share it, not an issue.
No problem. We will share it.
Okay. Wonderful. Yes. So breast cancer must know facts which are very important, and I'll try to be as vernacular as possible and less of the scientific jargon, so that the take-home message is loud and clear, and you are yourself are educated enough and motivated enough to enlighten your mothers or sisters or neighbors or friends, whomsoever you can. And in the end, I'll give you a just one-line message in the end. So next slide. So till the time they are putting up the next slide, breast cancer, as we all know, is a cancer which can occur at any age. Most commonly, it is above 50 years, but I have seen as young as 25 years and as old as 80 years old lady. And it is 1.38 million new breast cancers are diagnosed worldwide. And every 4 minutes, an Indian woman is diagnosed with breast cancer. And about 4,58,000 deaths from breast cancer occur every year. So to summarize, one woman dies of breast cancer every 13 minutes in India. And you can imagine that this registry data is just from about 7 to 8 cancer registries which we have all over India. India being such a vast country, and if the data is collected dedicatedly and from all centers, this data would be more alarming and more horrifying for us to see. Next slide. So October being the Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we decided to have this talk on breast cancer. Each October, you may notice a lot of pink popping in your community, or you may see people wearing these pink ribbons on their clothes. Many of the celebrities are promoting pink marathons or fashion shows, or communities offering, or hospitals offering mammograms at a very discounted rate in the month of October, with all those pink ribbons being put up, is just because October is a breast cancer awareness month. And you may also have heard about special events such as Race for the Cure that raise money for the breast cancer research and services. Next slide. So what exactly is breast cancer? We'll be discussing. Next slide. Every day, our body is making cells and destroying cells. Whether it is your skin or nails or blood or hemoglobin or liver or lung, every day old cells are killed or they are dying, and new cells are being made. So this is repair and regeneration, which is normal and logical to understand. This is how the body grows and grows old. So suppose the body decides that today they need 4,000 hemoglobin cells to maintain the hemoglobin at normal value. So they will make 4,000 cells and the body will stop. The 4,001 cell will not be made, or it will undergo a death, that this is not required, this is extra, this is not required in the body. So similarly, in platelets or in hair or anywhere, the number of cells body keeps a check. So it's kind of a checkpoint inhibitor which is happening in the body, that these many cells are required today 25 cells are required, today 25,000 cells are required. And after making those cells, the number of cells are stopped. So the human body is made of a tiny building blocks called cells, and your body creates them, replacing those that die with the new ones. Usually, the body creates healthy, normal cells that do just away what they are supposed to do. This includes the cells in the breast. The two rounded areas in the front of the chest are known as breast. I am sure everybody knows about it. So, next slide. But what happens when the tumor forms? But if the cells changes into abnormal, sometimes harmful form, it can divide quickly over and over again without dying, making many copies of itself, such which has been seen in the diagram. If you see the tumor cells, which is growing 2 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 16, 16 to 32, and the cells are growing, and new blood vessels, these blood vessels are growing, and the cells keep on growing and growing in the size. So that's how the tumor forms. And when this happens, these abnormal cells are grouped together to form a lump, and they can start growing. So it is something similar to what you must be facing every day in your household also. When you are having a water coming into your house in the morning and you fill the overhead tank, after filling about 1,000 liters of water, the water tank stops filling. The alarm starts ringing in your room or in the dining room that the water has filled up. Please stop the motor. Please stop the motor. But if somehow this sensing mechanism of the motor goes haywire and it's not able to pick up that the water has filled up, that extra water will come out of the water tank, and this extra water is not required. It will cause problem at your home. It will start dripping onto the ground floor from the staircases, and that's how when the body is trying to grow the cells. But after, as I told you, after 4,000 cells, the body doesn't stop, and it keeps on making 5,000, 10,000, 12,000, 11,000 cells every day. So that sensory feedback mechanism has somehow got disturbed, and those lumps are formed in the body. So these lumps can be benign, which is not cancerous, and can be malignant, which is cancerous. So all lumps are not cancerous, but definitely they need to be examined by the doctor so that they can decide whether those lumps or tumors, what we call as, are benign, that is not cancerous, or malignant, that is cancerous. So next slide. So breast cancer is a kind of a tumor that develops in the cells of the person's breast. And you may think that only women can get breast cancer. No, but men can also get, although it is very rare. About 0.5% of the men do have breast cancer, and they're treated in the same way as women. Next slide. Someone who has breast cancer may develop cancer cells in just one part of the breast, which you feel as a lump, but sometimes it might spread from breast to bones, which will cause pain in the bones. Pathological fractures. What are pathological fractures? Suppose you are walking and you just trip slightly, or you miss one step and you fall down. So usually people don't have fractures with such a trivial trauma. But if the cancer is spread to the bones, the bone becomes very weak. They become like chalk, and they might just break because of the minor trauma. Similarly, if the cancer spreads to the brain, then the brain metastasis can occur. Patients can fall. They might have convulsions or seizures. They may not able to balance themselves. They may talk irrelevant. They have double vision, which is known as diplopia. In liver mets, when the cancer spreads to the liver, patient develops jaundice, loss of appetite. They might have bleeding because of that. So if it spreads to the lung, then they have pneumonias, shortness of breath. So whichever part of the body it goes, it becomes metastatic. So basically, any metastatic cancer means that from one major organ, it has spread to another major organ, it becomes stage 4 or metastasis. So breast cancer, if it has spread to the lung, it will become stage 4, because from breast, one major organ, it has spread to lung, which is second major organ. It might go to the liver. Similarly, in lung cancer also, the lung is the major organ, it can go to the liver. So the lung cancer going into the liver become metastatic lung cancer. So from one major organ, if it goes to another major organ, it becomes metastatic. Next slide. So why do people get breast cancer? In majority of the cases, we don't know what is the cause. And we tell them that it's idiopathic. It's an idiotic reason. We don't know the reason. But in few, it can be because of the family history, the patient whose mother or sister or aunt has breast cancer or daughter has a breast cancer. Then in those family, there is a gene which is known as BRCA gene, BRCA1 and 2. We test those genes, and sometimes those genes are running in the family and patients do get breast cancer. Age. As the women get older, they are at more risk of breast cancer. Although I have seen breast cancer as early as 25 years of age, but higher the age, more are the chances that you might get breast cancer. Lifestyle choices. Women who smoke, eat high fatty diet, drink alcohol, don't do exercise are at more risk of developing breast cancer. Next slide. What are the chances? What are the signs of breast cancer? Just go to the previous slide, please. Yeah, in this, I would like to say another thing, that women who have not had pregnancy, who have not breastfed, are also at higher chances of having a breast cancer, because the hormonal changes, the physiological hormonal changes which happen with pregnancy or which happen with breastfeeding are, when doesn't happen, there are increased chances of women getting a breast cancer. Next slide. So what are the signs of breast cancer? People usually come, they said, we didn't know, and how did it spread? So most common is the lump in the breast, which can be a thickened tissue or a tumor which is felt. Then the skin changes. The skin might get a little puckered, just like an orange skin, or redness or pain. The nipple has changed shape or size. There is some discharge from the nipple, or the veins have grown very prominent around the nipple. So these are the most common cancer signs of the breast. And amongst that, lump in the breast is the most common. And majority of the people do not have pain when they have lump. They think that if it's not painful, it might not be cancerous. Although the irony is that if it is painless, the chances are that it might be a cancerous lesion. When it has pain, then the skin has already been involved and it comes to this stage, which is redness, pain and swelling. Now the veins have grown prominent. So in such cases, it is in advanced stages when patients do have pain. Next slide. So most of the lumps are not cancerous, as I told you initially, but lumps should be checked by a doctor to be sure. And breast lumps that are not cancerous may be a scar tissue or a cyst or fluid-filled lumps or sacs, or they can be due to normal breast changes associated with hormone changes, aging. So most common is in the age group of teenagers among 15, starting from at the age of 15 till about 25. Young women come with breast lump, and it's a very mobile lump, and it is usually known as a fibroadenoma, and it is because of hormonal changes and gradually weans off, and it is not cancerous, but it has to be checked by a doctor. It has to be confirmed by a doctor so that they are sure and you are also sure and reassured what it is. Next slide. So girls who are beginning puberty might notice a lump underneath the nipple when they are developing a breast. Usually this is normal. Ask your parent or a doctor to be sure about it. Next slide. So how is breast cancer diagnosed? Next slide. Whenever you have a lump in the breast, you go to a gynecologist, you go to a family physician, or you go to an oncologist and get yourself tested. So they usually do a breast examination, and they find out whether lump is palpable, what is it about, and the next step is mammogram. Mammogram is a special X-rays as shown in this pic, that the technician is there and this lady is there and the breasts are undergoing special X-rays, and this is kind of a film what we receive through a AP lateral, this is frontal view, and the diagonal view. And then through that, we are able to see what kind of lump it is, what are the margins, are they regular, irregular, are there any calcifications. Sometimes in elderly or in younger women who have dense breast, mammogram alone will not be sufficient, so ultrasound breast is done, and sometimes MRI of the breast is also done to confirm what is the nature of the lump, what are the characteristics of this lump, and through that we get a pretty fair idea as to what should be the next step. So it is reported as BI-RADS 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1 and 2 and 3 are benign, usually nothing is to be done. However, in 4 and 5, a biopsy or FNAC is done to confirm as to is it malignant or benign, and accordingly we proceed ahead with that. So mammogram should be done, regularly be done. Various countries have various guidelines. Sometimes they say once a year, sometimes they say once in 2 years. What India is following is once in 2 years, a mammography should be done after the age of 40 years. It should be regularly done, and it's available in most of the hospitals, digital mammography, which can be done so that we are able to diagnose at early stage. Next slide. So when the lump is found, the doctor wants to test it, and it is done by a biopsy, which is shown very beautifully in this slide. So this is a suspected lump, and a biopsy is done to a small tissues taken out, and it is sent to the lab to be seen under microscope to look for the cancerous cells. And within 2 days, you get your report as to what is the nature of the tissue, and is it malignant or it's not malignant. So till the time slides are being reloaded, many people are scared of getting the biopsy done. They think they are disturbing the normal nature and the disease will spread. It is something like wakening up the sleeping lion, and they're afraid of not getting the biopsy done. But that is not truth. That's a false. If it was there, then FDA would have stopped giving license to such a test, and it would have been declared at dangerous rather than being a safe procedure. So getting a biopsy or FNAC is absolutely safe. It's a myth saying that it will further spread the disease. If it is done at a proper center by a proper doctor under a guidance, it is absolutely safe procedure. Next slide. Most important thing other than just a mammography is a self breast examination. What I mean by that is fix any date, 15th of every month or 3rd Sunday of every month, any just fix it and read about self breast examination on Google. It's easily available. Every woman should do a self breast examination once in a month, as to find out if there is any change in the breast, is there any asymmetry in the contour of the breast, is there any nipple discharge or anything which is suspicious. That has been found the most effective way of diagnosing breast cancer at an early stage. Because of this awareness, because of this, now we are getting patients at early stage 1, in which that surgery is just enough and they may not require chemotherapy or radiation, anything. So newer studies have come up because earlier the studies have been done for advanced breast cancer, but for a very early stage breast cancer, how it has to be treated, now the guidelines have been laid down. It's so simple that you just do a self breast examination. If a suspicious lump is there, get a mammography or MRI done, do FNAC if it's malignant, get it removed, and that's it. You may not require further treatment. So the biopsy may be benign, which means the lump is not cancerous. If biopsy shows cancerous cells, the lump is malignant. If the breast lump does not contain cancer cells, the woman along with her doctor and family will decide what to do next. Next slide. So how breast cancer is treated? Once it has been diagnosed, as I told you, we do decide whether it's a local or systemic. So in localized disease, what we usually do a PET scan to find out where all the disease has spread. Is it just limited to the breast, or it has spread to lung, liver, bones, or no? So in early stage, if it is just limited to the breast, a surgery is done, followed by radiation if just the lump has been removed. And in systemic therapy, we give hormonal therapies, we give chemotherapies, and we give targeted therapies to take care of the cancer cells. Now, many people have myths of about chemotherapy, that what is it? Is it some poisonous snake poison what we are giving, or what is chemotherapy? Is it very painful? So chemotherapy is nothing, is just a special medicine, just like any other antibiotic or paracetamol or any painkiller or whatever you might consider. It's just another type of a medicine which is injected through the veins, and it goes and kills the rapidly developing cells. So rapidly developing cells means whatever is growing very fast, so it kills those cells. And that's why those side effects of having hair loss, or sometimes ulcers, or having nausea or loose motions, that happens. But with the development of newer technologies, with development of so many anti-vomiting drugs, we hardly find patients having nausea or vomiting. It's from about 50%, it has come down to about 5 to 10% of the patients who have problems while taking chemotherapy. Similarly, hormone therapies, we do special tests on the biopsy, which are ER, PR, HER2/neu, and accordingly we decide what kind of hormone therapy or targeted therapies needs to be done. Now, for the surgery, there are two types of surgeries. One is complete removal of the breast, and one is just removing of the lump, that is known as breast conserving surgery. So when a breast conserving surgery is done, just a lump is removed. However, after that, radiation is a must, and radiation is to be taken. Next slide. So as I told you, lumpectomy, only a part of the cancerous tissue is removed and rest of the breast is preserved. However, in mastectomy, whole of the breast is removed, and then according to the histopathology report, we further decide as to what treatment needs to be given. In radiation chemotherapy, radiation is nothing but special high energy X-rays are given to the local site, and it is to be given for 10 minutes every day, Monday to Friday. Saturday, Sunday is off. So about 4 to 6 weeks of radiation is given. Next slide. So as I told you, the dispelling myths. Myth number one, I have no family history of breast cancer, so need not worry. Not necessarily. As I told you, environmental changes, life factor changes, or idiopathic cause can be there which lead to breast cancer. Myth number two, finding a lump in the breast equals cancer. No. 80% of the breast cancer lumps are benign or non-cancerous, such as cyst or fibroadenomas, but you need to visit a doctor and let the doctor decide. Myth, only women can get breast cancer. No, men can also get, although the chances are very less, 0.5%. Next myth, breast cancer affects women above 45 years. No, that's also false. About 14,500 women under the age of 45 are diagnosed with breast cancer each year in US, and India data, I don't know. Mammogram can cause cancer. A mammogram involves very low dose of radiation like an X-ray, and it does not cause cancer. So don't be afraid of it. Please go ahead and get a mammogram done. Regular mammograms prevent cancer? No, it does not prevent cancer. It helps us to diagnose at early stage. Mammogram cannot prevent what will happen, but it will help us to diagnose at an early stage, and we can pick it up, and in early stages it is treatable with just surgery in most of the cases. Next slide. So living with the breast cancer is very important. Patients do have a lot of questions. They go through Google and YouTube and talk to their neighbors who are not much aware of the disease. It's something like that. You are playing a soccer and you say Ronaldo should have hit from the right leg and he should have hit from this side. Many people don't know, but they are also saying about hearsay whatever they have heard, and that's how the myths or mistakes keep spreading. It's better to ask the doctor, talk to him whatever needs to be done, how it is to be done. And obviously we all are humans and we have our emotional aspect, and we have people who have bravely fought against this with a very positive attitude, and I have patients who have gone into severe depression, and depression is killing them more than the cancer. So you need a support group, you need to talk to the doctor, you need to find out whom you can talk and share your feelings. We do have our support groups in which people who have been taken treatment and who have feelings are able to give patients a better emotional support as to how they dealt with their problems, and similarly the current patient can also do the same thing. Next slide. So dealing with the breast cancer is very hard for the woman as well as the family. A woman who has breast cancer surgery or treatment may not feel well for a while. That's totally understandable. She may feel depressed. If the woman needs chemotherapy, she may lose her hair and she may feel sick to her stomach, and she may also worry that cancer will return and she'll get sick again. So all first, second, third points are manageable. However, the last point, which is the cancer may return and she'll get sick again, this is the point which one deals in our own way how to deal with that, because none of the doctors will guarantee that 100% will not return. We also are not sure. We are not God, and it's not a maths that 2 + 2 is 4, whether it's in US or whether it's in India or UK. So it becomes nobody can with 100% surety tell you that it will not return. However, if you have it, if you visit regularly to the doctor, he'll be able to pick it up the early relapse chances, and you will be again cured or control the disease. So what's stored in future, we don't know. Whether cancer will return or not return, we don't know. Why did it happen in the first place? We don't know. So something needs to be left to the destiny, and thinking about it can ruin your present. So when my patients ask how to deal with it, I tell them that leave it for the God to decide, or the destiny. Live in the present and do whatever best you can do, so that you live happily in the present scenario. Next slide. The good news is that, especially if it's caught early, women with breast cancer go to live a full, healthy life after treatment. Some join support groups so that they talk to the women with breast cancer who are feeling the same emotions. There are even groups that kids or other family members can join to talk about their feelings when someone they love has breast cancer. Find a trusted adult to talk to if you are worried about a loved one. That's very important. Next slide. So what you can do is limit alcohol, don't smoke, control your weight, be physically active, breastfeed, limit dose and duration of hormone therapy, avoid exposure to radiation and environmental pollution. So amongst them, I think environmental pollution or exposure to the radiation is something you can't control. In a city like Delhi, in which it has so much of pollution, I can't control that. Whatever bit I can do to control the pollution, I can do, but it's something beyond me as an individual. But rest of the things can definitely be individualized and can be taken, and it's in your hand as to how you can live a better active and physically active life, and when to get married, when to have kids on time, when to have how to breastfeed. All those things are very important, and it maintains a physiological balance in the body. Next slide. So with this, thank you. and the house is open for the discussion. I could see some questions in the chat box. So Riham has asked, so while chemo kills rapidly developing cells, how does it decipher what is the good cells or the bad cells to attack? Very valid question, very good questions. So what chemo does is, whenever the trials are going on, we do trials and we find out what dose of the chemotherapy is there, which is well balanced between the normal cells and the cancerous cells. So doses are decided, and those doses are important and given in such a way that the cancerous cells are killed. The normal cells are also killed, but those normal cells, whatever the amount of normal cells are killed, are not so much so that the patient cannot tolerate it, or the patient is not able to handle it. So suppose the good cells such as hair loss, or having ulcers in the mouth, or having loose motions. So these are the good cells which are killed. However, it recovers. The cells are not able to recover because the doses are given such that the bad cells are not able to recover. But the good cells, when the chemotherapy stops, are able to regrow and have a better quality of life to the patient. The hair grows, the ulcers in the mouth heals, the loose motion heals, the blackening of the nails heals. So this is how the doses are decided, so that the bad cells are killed adequately, and the good cells, if ever are killed or damaged, they are able to repair themselves. So next question is from Mr. Nilesh. What about alkaline water? It really works on cancer patients. I also know many of the patients, or many of the persons do call us, or they come and tell us that we had bought alkaline water machine for about 3 lakhs or 6 lakhs, and is it beneficial? What I answer them is, it's not harmful. Whether it's beneficial or no, I really don't know. There is no scientific data or randomized controlled trial, but there's no harm in taking. So if you are taking, you can continue to do so. And but there is no scientific data that it works on cancer patients. It might work, it may, but it doesn't do any harm, because many of the one of the signs Tibetan medicines works on the basis that it makes the body alkaline, so that the cancer cells are not able to live in the alkaline environment. So that's the science behind it. However, there is no scientific data about it. But whenever the patients ask me or relatives ask me, I tell them there's no harm in trying that. There's no harm in taking that. So you can continue to do that. So.
Thank you, Doctor. Now I invite Ms. Shilpi Chopra to moderate the Q&A session, and request the participants, if they have any more questions, they can put their queries in the chat box. Shilpi, over to you.
Thank you, Avdesh. Good evening, Dr. Mittal. I'm Shilpi. I take care of learning and development for Vision Spring. Dr. Mittal, first of all, please accept my sincere appreciation for such an enlightening and informative presentation. It was well structured, and the best part is it was highly positive. And I personally feel that yes, breast cancer awareness is very important. Especially it should be open for discussions. And if it can be taken in a very positive light, then awareness can be spread and it can save many lives. So most of the questions have been answered. However, we have few more questions left. There was this one question when the audience asked, at what age do I start and how often should I go for screening?
So self-breast examination should start after the age of 30 years, and you can start at the age of 25 also. But self-breast examination should be done once in a month, regularly. Fix a date, otherwise you won't do it. Just in your bathroom or whatever, in the mirror, just like 15th of every month, just do a self-breast examination. That's the most effective way. Mammography should be done after the age of 40 years. In India, the guidelines are once in 2 years. In US, it's different. In Europe, it's different. Those are insurance-based companies. However, in India, it's not insurance-based. It's not insurance-driven healthcare system or the guidelines. So in India, it is once in 2 years. However, if a lady has suppose developed a breast cancer at 40 years, then her daughter should start the screening at the age of 30 years. 10 years prior to the mother, one should start screening for the mammography 10 years prior to the age at what mother had the breast cancer.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much for the answer. For initial checkup, do we need to visit a cancer specialist or a gynecologist should be fine?
Gynecologist is fine, absolutely fine. People are more comfortable with gynecologists and you visit them regularly for all your other queries. Going to the oncologist, although you are most welcome, but it raises your anxiety level and what all those things, and he may not be available. Oncologist may not be as frequently available in all the cities as a gynecologist. So any of the good gynecologists or a lady physician, whomsoever you trust, please go and get yourself tested.
Thank you. Will the breast cancer treatment affect the ability to have a baby?
Pardon? I couldn't get the question.
Sure. Will the breast cancer treatment affect the ability to have a baby?
Yes, in some cases it does. If suppose the breast cancer is developing at the age of 30 years or in the reproductive age group, the chances that you will lose your menstrual cycles are higher. But younger the age, younger are the ovaries, more are the chances that ovaries will regain their menses and you will be able to have the baby again. So if the lady is at about 45, 50 years, then obviously the chances that you'll have the baby at that age would be less. But if you're at 30 years and you because of the chemotherapy, you have lost your menses, once you start regaining your menses and at regular cycles, then you are able to have the baby. But it also depends on what is the hormone status of your breast cancer, whether it is ER, PR positive or negative. So all those details need to be discussed with the patient and the doctor, and then decide as to when is the best time to have the baby.
Sure. We have one question from Kristen. Many of us have not given birth and will not. How much of an increased risk of breast cancer do we have? What can be done to mitigate this?
So it's very common in India also nowadays, and the chances are that you are at higher risk, 1.5 times higher than the general population of having a breast cancer. So to mitigate that is self-breast examination, regular mammography at 2 years, get yourself checked, look for any lumps and get yourself evaluated.
Another question that we have is, does cancer spread from breast to other body parts? If so, then how much time would it take?
Yes, any of the cancer, not only breast, any of the cancers can spread from one part to another part. Unfortunately, there is no formula to detect as when will it spread. We have few parameters as how aggressive is the breast cancer disease when we do ER, PR, HER2/neu and Ki-67. So we have some idea as to when the cancer will spread. In hormone positive breast cancer, usually after 5 years, there are chances that it will spread. However, in hormone negative breast cancer, it usually spreads within 5 years. If it doesn't spread after 5 years, the chances are less. Although it's not absolutely zero, but the chances become less. So it depends what kind of breast cancer it is, and to make it less, that how the breast cancer doesn't spread from one part of the body to other, take the treatment regularly. If you're hormone positive, you have to take those hormone tablets regularly, go and visit the doctor regularly. People sometimes think, or patients think, that only one tablet is being taken and the doctor just met us for 10-15 minutes and he didn't do anything. So people stop coming after 2 years or 3 years and they just keep popping up the pill and they don't come and show up. But what the doctor in 10 minutes, we are all trained for so many years, in 10 minutes, we are able to find out whether you have any symptoms or are you at high risk of getting those cancer symptoms back or not. So don't stop visiting your doctor. Keep him in the loop, and whatever medicines they are told, do continue that.
Does reproductive and menstrual cycle history increase the breast cancer risk?
So basically, breast is a hormone driven organ. Whenever the female starts having menses, whenever they have puberty, at that time, the breast also starts developing. So it has been said that longer you are exposed to the menses. So if the female who had menses from 19 years of age till about 45 versus if age till about 60. So longer the duration of having menses, higher the chances that you might have a breast cancer. So that's why when female becomes pregnant, these regular hormone cycles gets broken up, and the physiological changes which happen with the estrogen and progesterone receptors or the hormone levels, it breaks the cycle of this continuous exposure to the hormone because of the longer duration of menses. So it helps to take care of that. So what I mean to say, earlier you start menstruating and longer you continue for menstruating, there are higher chances of you having a breast cancer, although the chances are very minimal. It's not very significant, but yes, there is a little higher chance.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mithil, for answering all our questions patiently, and it was extremely informative. In this webinar, we have audience from all our teams based out in Africa, Bangladesh, Vietnam, United States of America, and India. So on behalf of entire Vision Spring, I sincerely thank you for all your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Mithil. I'll now pass on the stage to Avdesh. Thank you.
Thank you, Shilpi. Doctor, just a couple of questions more. It went unanswered. In most patients, when one breast is affected, there is a belief that the second one will also have. So what are the ways to lessen the chances of this developing?
So basically, it is as I told you, from right breast is a different organ, left breast is a different organ. So when it spreads from right breast to the left breast, we say that it has metastatized. So as I told you previously, continue the medicines, visit your doctors regularly. If you're hormone positive, you have to take the hormonal tablets for 5 to 7 years or maybe for 10 years. So those are the measures in which you might reduce the chances of having in the opposite breast, and continue doing the self breast examination so that you are able to pick up the lump at an early stage.
Okay. Though you have answered in your slide, but participants want to know that what are the main symptoms of cancer?
So for any of the cancer, I'll start from head to toe. If you have a headache, which is persisting for maybe more than 1 month or 1.5 months, it might be migraine, but you should go and visit a doctor. Most of the headaches are not because of the cancer. If you have an ulcer in the mouth which is not healing for more than 15-20 days, and you have taken all vitamins and you have taken all kind of medicines, but it's not healing, and you have a sharp tooth or an history of tobacco in form of chewing tobacco or smoking or whatever it is, and any ulcer in the mouth which is not healing, then it might be an early sign of cancer. If you have loss of appetite which is unintentional, which is not because of the gym or appetite or dieting, you having a weight loss, or you having a passing blood in the motions, or passing blood in the postmenopausal women, they are having spotting. So all these symptoms, or having weight loss, or having abdominal pain which is not relieving, so get yourself evaluated for such symptoms. It may not be cancerous, but in this way only it presents. It's very subtle signs which needs to be picked up, and which needs one to be aware of, that these signs need to be evaluated by the doctor.
All right. Thank you. One more that question is, so while chemo kills rapidly developing cells, how does it decipher that what is good cells or bad cells to attack?
I have already answered that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's it, sir. I think all the questions have been answered. Thank you for your time and patience, sir. We are grateful to you for delivering such an informative and pragmatic talk. And a special thanks to Ms. Shilpi Chopra and entire staff of Vision Spring Noida for making this event successful. With best wishes, now we from Plasmagen team signing off here. Have a nice day ahead. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good morning. Good evening. I think it's all across the globe. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
You too, sir. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everyone.